shared, please tell me. We'll correct those. But I am going to keep talking about. We're also going to talk about the Big Bang, and we're going to talk a little bit about how you can. There's an article I have up here called "How Not to Embarrass Yourself in an Argument with an Atheist." You can imagine what's in that, and I'll go ahead and share those links now for those that might be more interested in that than what we're talking about, real quickly, and then we'll get back to the logical fallacies. Again, I need to say something that I didn't say in my first 100 or so episodes, and that is that I'm not the king of critical thinking. I'm a student of it, and I share what I learn with you, and I learn while I share with you. True story. How did the universe begin? Big Bang, good stuff. Some of these are pretty cheesy-ass websites, which you kind of, to me, it almost gives it a little extra credibility because nerdy-ass scientists have no idea about design. They're just, put the text down, give me one picture, we're done. So that's cool too. Let's see. Here we go. That's all on there. Here's the other one. And the 3 links I've shared in the chat room tonight will be of use to you in our discussion because we're going to touch on all of them. But as Debbie has ordered me to do, I'm agnostic, Apocalypse. As I said before, agnostic, and I am firmly agnostic. So if anybody wants to question me about it, I'm happy to debate it with you. Chances are you won't change my mind, though, because I've had the discussion probably a couple of thousand times now, and I'm not finding information that's changing my position, and I'm always subject to change. But as an agnostic, first when you say, do you believe in God, my first question to you is, what do you mean by God? Why would I even ask that? Because it seems to me that, and it seems to any agnostic, that there are a great many definitions of what God is. So if you can't come up with a unified definition of God, I don't even know what you're asking me. If you're one of those people that believes God is just in the rocks and the soil, and He's an energy, that's one thing. If you believe He's the anthropomorphic figure sitting up on fucking Saturn, writing down when you fuck up, that's a whole nother thing. If you believe that He's simply a life force that doesn't think but just does, that's a whole nother thing. I mean, I got to know what you mean by God. Now, once you say, Kevin, I believe that God is so-and-so. Unless you have evidence to prove it, chances are at that point I have to leave agnosticism and step over to agnosticism, which is just another way to say I don't know. And I don't know. I don't know if God exists. I'm not going to argue about it. People think they have proof and they don't. Atheists think they have proof there's no God, and they don't. The truth is we're doing a lot of guessing here. But what you can do, once you learn to think well, is weigh the evidence with a little more confidence in yourself. Weigh the evidence, and then you can lean one way or the other. If you made me choose today, if some weird thing happened, and you said, Kevin, you have to choose to either believe in God or not, with what I know right now, I would probably say not. I would probably say that I'm going to go with the gut feeling here and say I don't think that there's an intelligent being controlling the universe. It just doesn't sound like the right answer to me. But if you ask me on a normal day, and it's the truth, I just don't know. In other words, if I died today and I find myself with some pearly gates, it's not going to shock me. I'm just going to say in my mind, assuming my conscious maintains its, togetherness, oh, so these people were right. Or if I end up in hell or whatever, if I end up in some weird purgatory where it's all black but I'm still thinking, I'm going to be pretty confused. I mean, I'm going to say, so what is this? Is this forever? There better be hockey here, because fuck this. And where can I get cigarettes? I don't see one 7-Eleven in this bitch. It's all dark, but at least there's no people moaning and Hitler's not fucking me. I mean, there could be some good things about a purgatory situation, but who wants to be alone doing nothing forever? I don't like that idea. Just let me, if that's the option, I just want to die, if that's possible. Go to permanent sleep. I have nothing against that. I don't know. That's my view. I'm agnostic. You asked, but I don't try to sell people on it. Not at all. I mean, if you believe you've had a genuine experience with God, I'm not going to talk you out of that. If you believe absolutely positively after all you've read, and you might have read 100 more books on the subject than I have, that there is no God, I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to change your mind, so why even try to? All I can do is listen to what you have to say, and I'll do that without attacking you. Kevin is just a fancy atheist with a college diploma. You think so? No, I don't know. I'm a person who just cannot say definitively yes or no if I don't know. It doesn't feel genuine to me. I have learned that the types of blind faith you need to believe in most religions can hurt you. It really can hurt you in a sales or government position. It makes it easier to control you if you're asked to, again, employ blind faith. Who says there is no God? Who says there is no God? Just atheists that I know of. And other religions that don't worship a God. You know, there's a couple of hundred major religions out there. You know, Buddhists don't believe there's a God. They follow the teachings of Siddhartha Gautama, and basically about peace and love, and divorcing yourself from what you want and only worrying about what you actually do need. And that's okay. I mean, so you tell them they're going to hell? I can't get into that discussion. No, atheists don't say there is no God. Okay, what do atheists say then? Stabby's correcting me here on atheist. He says atheists do not say there is no God. And then we'll get back into the logical thing. Will the real God please stand up? That's funny. Maybe there is a God, says Andrew, but you will not find him in any book. And why the hell would he need your money created by man? Exactly. I honestly think that most religions were created by man to control man. Because if they can convince you that there's a giant dude with a lot of power watching you when no one's watching you, and you better behave, that is one way to keep a population under control. Religion is a business, nothing more, says Andrew. Okay. RD, welcome to the chat. Long time no hear, bro. This show better end before I leave for work so I can download it and take it with me. Well, it depends on when you leave for work. Atheists just don't believe there is a God. Okay, so Stabby says atheists do not say there is no God. Now, I don't know about that, man. I'm going to have to disagree with you on that, Stabby. We'll have to look up our separate definitions. Because to me, most atheists that I've heard discussions from make specific arguments to show that there is no God. And you're saying that all they do is present evidence to show that there is no evidence for God. And as I recently read in a magazine I was reading, absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. And but absence of evidence is certainly not evidence of presence. So you really get into gray areas there that cannot be solved with what we know right now. It's an unwinnable argument. People are going to believe what they want to believe when it comes to religion. That one's not solvable. Something like abortion, that's solvable. We can get into that and get into science and figure out what the right thing to do is and come up with medical solutions that would avoid the need for something like abortion. My stance right now is that I'm pro-choice. I don't like the idea of terminating a life that, had it been left alone in a natural scenario, would have turned into a life. But I also don't believe that I have the right to say that to anybody. It's a very touchy topic, and I feel very divided on it. But I still cannot see enough good reason to tell a woman, nope, gotta have the baby. After a certain period, yes, but it's a huge debate. I can't back mine up with a whole bunch of data, so I'm just going to let it go. But what I'm saying is that's something that is more solvable than the question of religion, because I can just about promise you, tell me if I'm wrong here, that in 5,000 years, this whole religion debate will still be raging strong, whereas something like abortion will be gone from the public discussion. They will have found a way to permanently avoid getting pregnant, and until you want to, some sort of fucking electronic implant device, and you hit a button when you're ready to get pregnant, and you spit out a baby, and then they can make abortion illegal. Although it would never present a moral dilemma for someone who just decides they're not ready to support a child. So something like that can be solved. Religion's not going to be solved. But let's get back to logical fallacies while you guys continue that discussion. I'll catch up on what you say in chat later, I promise. And I'll answer any questions you had for me in there. But we're going to get on with this logical fallacy stuff. This is stuff that, again, I hope you don't use as weapons, but you should recognize it both in your own arguments, because I guarantee you that all of us commit some of these logical fallacies and we don't even know we're doing it. And there are others that do it when arguing with us that we need to be able to know, even if we don't point it out. You should know when somebody's on the wrong track of thinking, and therefore giving you a weak argument. And understand the way I use argument is in the legal sense. I'm not talking about screaming and shouting. I'm talking about presenting an opposing view. And you can do that very calmly, just as you would see in a debate typically. Not a debate with certain people who like to yell and scream, because that is the first sign that someone doesn't know what the fuck they're doing when they have to raise the volume. Argument from adverse consequence, appeal to fear, scare tactics. You know that one. I'm not going to touch on it. I encourage you to read through it, though. Special pleading, stacking the deck. This happens almost every day in discussions I hear, okay? What it is using the arguments that support your position, but ignoring somehow disallowing the arguments against. You know, why do we do that? It's because we want to believe something. Like a 9/11 truther, they're going to look at the funny anomalies that have come up from 9/11 investigations, but they're not going to look at the mountain of evidence suggesting that the popular story is actually the correct one. They're going to do anything they can to not think about that evidence and just focus on these anomalies they found. So you see this all the time. This is people paying attention to the facts they want to pay attention to while ignoring the facts they don't want to. And they think, most of them, in my opinion, think that they're including all the necessary facts. You got to take the facts you don't like, folks, along with the facts you do like, if you want an accurate view of reality. There's no way around that. Next one is excluded middle, which is a false dichotomy. Jesus Christ, this one drives me so insane. Let me explain this to you in the simplest way I can think of. These are people who believe there's never a gray area. There's almost always a gray area. Special pleading or stacking the deck is using the arguments excluded middle is assuming that there is only two alternatives when in fact there are more. For example, assuming atheism is the only alternative to fundamentalism, or being a traitor is the only alternative to being a loud patriot. You see this all the time in these far right-wing shows. If you're not with us, you're against us. Well, wait a minute. Some people want to be with you, but they have some questions about what you're doing. What about those people? Don't they have a say? Nope, you're either with us or you're against us. You're either a patriot or a traitor. Come on, people. There's a gray area. Accept the gray area, and you're going to be more intelligent for it. We talked about this on the last show, but I didn't know it was called special pleading. I had never heard that before. Excluded middle. The next one is short-term versus long-term. I've read over this, but I don't hear it very often. Maybe you guys do. The example they give here is we must deal with crime on the streets before improving the schools. And the question is, can we do both? And the answer is yes, we can. You don't have to... people will try to stack things in a numerical order of priority, when in truth, sometimes 3, 4, 5 of those things in this top 10 list they're giving can be done at the same time. We have 300 million people in the country. We can do a few things at once. Yeah, we can. We've got people for that. So burden of proof. This is used in court a lot, and it's not used in arguments enough. I'll promise you that. The claim that whatever has not yet been proved false must be true, or vice versa. It's, essentially, the arguer claims that he should win by default if his opponent can't make a strong enough case. And I witnessed this. If you guys go listen to Debbie Daly's last show, again, Mr. Solutions was sounding really great, really smart. And then he went after, not in a mean way, just in a very authoritative way, Mr. Midnight Movie about the Big Bang. And what his jump-in logic went from was this. You can't tell me what caused the Big Bang, therefore it was intelligent design. Now think about that for a minute. You can't tell me, Mr. Midnight Movie, what caused the Big Bang, what actually created that moment. Therefore, because you can look up in the universe and see order, there must be intelligent design. Do you buy that argument? Even if you believe in God, do you buy that specific argument that he made? And the truth is, I can tell you what happened in the Big Bang. Just because somebody doesn't know doesn't mean the information doesn't exist. The Big Bang does remain just a theory.